pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now I'd like to have please stay standing. This past week, we lost a 28-year employee, very dedicated employee, died of a heart attack after he went home. It makes us all realize that life is just a breath away from what we see or maker. So let's have a moment of silence for a minute for Mr. Wade Pierce. Thank you. As always, we have a prayer before we start. Father, we thank you for allowing us to meet in a free country. We realize that not in many countries allow their members opportunities as we have. Help us to trust one another, Father, to be mindful of our friends and be mindful of the freedoms that we have as we look at the events of the day. Help us to put our trust in you in everything we do. In your Son's name we ask you. Amen. I'll stand up for just a second so you can all hear me. Tonight we have a town hall meeting with experts here from TCEQ, Galveston County Health, the operator, TOPS, our district engineer, and our district attorney. And so to follow the rules that are set for these kind of meetings, we're turning everything over to our attorney, Mr. Baker.
Well, not everything, but thank you. And I greatly apologize to everybody for being tardy. I do apologize for being tardy. Is this going to be better? Okay. I've been asked to just make some opening remarks before turning it over to some opening statements from district consultants and members from that are here from other agencies that would like to make some statements too before opening up to public comments. Now, people may have seen some rules about the public comments today. We asked for still more? Okay. We did ask for a sign-up sheet for public comments. Yeah. The rules, the district is allowed to set rules about when and the amount of time for each public comment. Today it's going to be at the end of statements for the people up here, and we're asking for everybody to do it within 3 minutes. Is that still consistent? Nobody's going to get escorted out of here for not following that. However, if it's not consistent amongst people, then we will adjourn the meeting for a few minutes, let everybody get their heads on straight again and cool down, and hopefully other members of the public that wish to speak will encourage others to follow by the rules. If there are too many times like that, we will adjourn the meeting and call another one, because that's the consequence if the rules aren't followed. Nobody's going to get in trouble. We just have to adjourn the meeting. You want me to go over anything else?
No, just introduce Mr. Weston.
Okay.
Weston Massey, TCEQ.
I'll turn it over to Mr. Weston from the TCEQ.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and just hold it because I think that does sound better.
Yeah.
So if anybody can't hear me, just raise your hand and I'll move it closer or speak a little bit louder. All right, my name is Weston Massey. I'm with the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality here out of the Houston Region Office. For those of you that aren't familiar with us, our agency is split into 16 different regions. This Galveston County is in Region 12, and Region 12 consists of basically Harris County and every county that touches it, so we got 13 counties in total, all the way up to Walker, to Waller, out to Wharton, down to Chambers, Galveston, Brazoria, out to Liberty. So that's kind of our circle. Within that circle, we regulate everything between air, water, and waste. I'm the water section manager here out of the Houston office. So pretty much anything dealing with water kind of runs through my shop. That's wastewater treatment, drinking water, septic systems, water rights, and stormwater, a number of little programs as well. But pretty much if it involves water, it comes through us probably one way or another. Within our region by itself, there are, in particular with the wastewater treatment plants, they're split into two different groups. One is called our majors and the other ones are minors. The facility down the street here is a minor facility. That's defined meaning it discharges less than 1 million gallons per day. Anything that discharges more than 1 million is considered a major facility. So within Region 12 by itself, there's 1,200 wastewater treatment plants. 300 of those are major facilities and about 900 are minor facilities. So the EPA has delegated to the TCEQ the authority to regulate the Clean Water Act, for terms of this public hall meeting, the wastewater treatment plants. And that's on the operational sides of things, all the way through permitting, the investigation, and then any follow-up that's required. So the EPA, as part of this agreement, came up with a frequency that we have to investigate our facilities at. For a major facility, that's once every 3 years. And for a minor facility, that's once every 5 years. Now that investigation is what we call a comprehensive compliance investigation. You may see it referred to as a CCI. That is our kind of in-depth. We're going to go through years of records. Typically we go back about 3 years, although we can go back about 5. And we'll look at operational logs, any complaints, their effluent data to see if there's any violations out there. As well as take a view of their plant, see how are they operating, is it in compliance with their rules and regulations. So that's about half of the drive of work. The other drive of the work comes from our complaints. Complaints are on demand, meaning if we get called and there's an issue, we'll respond. If it's a complaint that's not within our jurisdiction, many times we'll get complaints, it's raining outside today, so flooding. My house flooded, my neighbor built their property too high, and my house flooded. That's things outside of our jurisdiction, so we'll refer that, should y'all happen to call us, we'll refer that for you to the correct agency. So the complaints follows the same process. If we get a complaint about issue X, we'll go out and take a look for issue X to see if we can verify it. Or if it's not occurring while we're out there, then we'll walk back to the plant or whatever the situation is to see, did it happen? Because if the operator is keeping their correct logs and things of that nature, you'll see telltale signs of what occurred. So that's kind of our two main drivers is our CCIs, which is EPA driven, and then our complaints, which is our on-demand focus. For complaints, for y'all's knowledge, if y'all do call us, there's two different ways you can file a complaint with us. One is online. It does give you the option to be anonymous. If you just Google search TCEQ complaint, it'll be the first link that pops up. And it truly does come to us anonymously. The email that comes to me or to the agency does say anonymous at TCEQ. So if you're concerned about that, trust me, it happens all the time. It's anonymous. We don't know who you are. That can be problematic at times. So if you do submit a complaint to us, make sure we've got enough detail to evaluate the issue. Many times we might get a complaint that says there's an overflow occurring. And if it's anonymous and all they give me is an overflow is occurring in the city of Houston, well, the city of Houston's pretty big, so we don't know where in the system that's occurring. So make sure if you are doing it anonymously, you give us enough detail, address, street name, things like that to go find the issue. The other process you can give us a call on is not anonymous, or to be not anonymous, meaning we'll get your name and your number and contact information. That will allow you to receive a copy of the report and actually put you in touch directly with our investigator in case you have any follow-up questions. We don't go to an operator and say, Miss Jane Doe complained about you, she lives down the street, here's your contact number. All of that is kept confidential. We never divulge that. Although if you're not anonymous, if it were to go to, say, an Office of Attorney General case or so hearing, there is a chance the judge could rule that the complainant's name must be released. I'm not personally aware of that ever happening, but that is an option, and the person on phone duty will let y'all know about that. But that's how you can complain to us. So it's an online submission form, anonymous or not anonymous, or there's two different phone numbers you can call. One is a toll-free number, and I can say it now, or I'll hang back after the meeting for a little while if y'all want those direct lines. But the toll-free number will go by your area code. So if you're like me with the Corpus Christi area code, if I were to call the complaint line, it would route me to that region, but they'll transfer you over. Or you can call directly to the region and get in touch with one of our investigators. We are on a rotation, so every day we have an investigator that covers that. So that's kind of our CCIs, and the complaints will respond. Once we complete an investigation, or while the investigation is open, I should say, we can't necessarily discuss with you the findings, any actions that are being done, or what the operations company is doing, because that is an active investigation. But once it is approved, and then you'll get that copy of that report, or always feel free to call up to the region, and we can try to provide you with reports. During the investigation, once an investigation occurs and the investigators kind of done their on-site thing that they needed to do, that can result in really three different options. One is what we call general compliance, meaning we've gone out, we have not found an issue, the facility's in compliance, and so we move on. The other two possibilities are what's called an NOV, notice of violation, meaning that a facility had some sort of issue, and that can be ranging from a signature on a piece of paper all the way to a serious environmental impact. It kind of runs the gamut there. If an NOV, notice of violation, is issued, then the facility generally gets a certain amount of time to come into compliance. That is our ultimate goal, is compliance. So the investigator maintains communication with the entity to figure out what's going on, how are they coming into compliance. And then the last option that's out there is what's called an NOE, a notice of enforcement. That just means basically that the violation either was not resolved within the specified time frame, or the violation that was documented warranted formal enforcement, meaning it gets referred up to our litigation team to consider fines and potential court case kind of issue. That all follows it. All of this information is online. EIC, Enforcement Initiation Criteria. It is a guidance document that we follow that's publicly available that'll walk you through how we determine whether or not something is an enforcement case, a violation, or general compliance. And if y'all have any follow-up questions on that, please feel free to ask or call up to the region. We're more than welcome to walk y'all through it so y'all have a good understanding. And that's kind of the nutshell of what we do. So I'll turn it over to Galveston County Health District.
Good evening. No? The other. Oh. Sorry about that. Can you hear me now? All right. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Ronnie Schultz, and I'm the Director of Environmental Health at the Galveston County Health District. I appreciate you coming out tonight. I just want to go over a few things real quickly about what we do at the Health District. Before I get started, I did bring some coworkers of mine who are subject matter experts, and if I can introduce them real quickly, Katie Wilson, if you will stand, is our water pollution section manager, and Jason Moore, who is one of our senior environmental investigators and our wastewater treatment plant expert. So anyway, this is a homecoming for me. I lived here for 15 years in Bayou Vista. This is God's country over here. Hated to have to leave. miss it and would like to come back again. But I have one reason why. My wife says that we're not moving back, so you know how that goes. So anyway, and you know, I wouldn't be a public health servant if I wasn't to talk about. I like to see the social distancing we have tonight in the audience. The face covers, you know, we're still pushing real hard for people to wear face covers out in public, do that social distancing, and also to make sure and wash your hands. So, you know, the numbers are upticking in Galveston County right now. We're not exactly sure why. Could be from the opening of the state of Texas. We've done a lot more testing in nursing homes, and unfortunately we have a lot of cases in nursing homes. So anyway, so I just want to mention that today. So getting back on why I'm here tonight, Galveston County Health District, our offices, for you that don't know, we're located in Texas City. We're in the old Walmart next to Mall of the Mainland, and that's where we have a full service health district. Also our Coastal Health and Wellness clinic is also located over there. And I could talk all night about the health district and all the services we provide. But speaking of our environmental section, we do air pollution, water pollution, which is a contract service, and I'll go into that in a little more detail, and also consumer health, which covers restaurant inspections, septic systems, swimming pools, and also public health nuisance complaints that we do at the health district. So speaking of the water pollution program, our water pollution program for Galveston County Health District has been around since 1972. And the services that we provide are contracted. We have 8 cities and 3 water districts. Is it 3, Katie, that we have, or 2? 2 water districts that we are currently under contract to provide those services. Those services include citizen complaint response, and I should have mentioned before, Weston with TCEQ, they're an enforcement agency. They enforce rules and regulations, and we do that on our air side. We're actually a contracted local program of TCEQ on our air side, but on the water side, we're more of a consultant. We do at times have to take folks into court, and that's how we get enforcement actions taken care of at the health district. And that's to take them into the local courts. But under contract, we respond to citizen complaints. We do domestic wastewater treatment inspections, and we also do stormwater sampling. And we do this. We have about 52 sites around Galveston County that we're currently contracted to sample and send those samples off to the laboratory to get tested and get those results. Now here recently in the Bayou Vista area, we were asked by County Commissioner Joe Giusti to look into a situation here in Bayou Vista. He had those concerns about the discharge coming from the wastewater treatment plant. We took those concerns. We went and talked to our local health authority, who is Dr. Kaiser at the health district, and decided that we would do the investigation out here. And fortunately, we have some county dollars that we could use to pay for that investigation out here, since we weren't under contract. And I will say that since we started this investigation several weeks ago, that the MUD district has asked for us to draw up a contract and for them to take a look at to hire us for services, and we've provided that contract, and we'll be negotiating that contract with them at a later date. So going back to the concerns, I know you folks, and I don't want to take too much time because I know you folks have questions. You know, we took some samples at the discharge pipe, and we on the first sampling, and Katie, the first sampling, or Jason, that was on May 14th, and the results were outside the permit limitations, correct? So we saw that, and we came back and we did some additional testing. The second test was on May 28th, and 20th, I'm sorry, and those results, they were within the parameters of their discharge permit. Whenever we do testing of waterways, we do what we call upstream and downstream. We basically bracket where we took the original sample from, and I know upstream, downstream here really is, and it's really more tied in, tied out. So we did take those samples, and the numbers, the test results from that looked good. They were under the standards set for this the water body here in Bio Vista. So with that in mind, Jason went out and did some investigations, did a walk through the plant, drafted some reports that we submitted to the board, and have some concerns that we addressed with MUD 12, and that report has been submitted to the board. So anyway, once again, I appreciate everyone coming out tonight, and I will definitely be here and my coworkers to answer any questions that you may direct towards the health district. So thank you very much.
Yeah, unless you want me to introduce you.
I can introduce myself.
Okay.
That's fine.
With the time.
Yep, that's fine. Let me, since he was all over this mic here. Sorry, sorry. My name is Nathan White. I'm the president and owner of Texas Operations and Professional Services. We are, like the name suggests, a professional water operations company. Two of my cohorts are in the back here. Wendy Rambin is our compliance manager. She's fantastic at navigating these types of complex environmental issues. Mike Curran is one of our operations managers, and he's personally very much involved in this issue right now. We have just recently been brought in by the board, initially as a consultant at the very last days of May, and then last Thursday as full-time operator now for these facilities, so water and wastewater systems. We pride ourselves in the work we do. We help deliver clean, safe drinking water to you folks. We help provide excellent customer service for things that you need, and we help recycle and deliver clean water back into the environment. And we take great pride in that work. We work with we've got contracts with a number of other facilities, MUD districts, small cities, school districts, specifically running their water and wastewater systems. And we've been doing this a long time. Some of us longer than others, but I'm a second generation owner operator, and as TOPS we've been around since 2002. So in some ways we are drinking from the fire hydrant and catching up on these lab results and the different findings and testings. Just since Thursday, we've already started to take some action with our hands on at the facilities, making some adjustments in the process controls of the facility and starting to see some turnaround there. It's not going to happen overnight. The plant didn't get to the condition it's in overnight, and it's going to take some time to turn around, but we are working on it. We've also identified some other issues. We're waiting on some other sampling results to come back, looking at the characteristics of the plant itself. But in some other results that we've seen regarding salinity as well, we're starting to trace back upstream from the plant and identify some other areas where we've got some inflow and infiltration coming into the sewer lines, which is basically just storm water runoff that's making its way into the sewer line. So, and if any of that, when we see salinity, meaning it's coming from the canals or during times of high tide at least, those can complicate the treatment process at the plant itself. So we are working to get the plant back in compliance. We're working with the TCEQ, we're working with the Galveston County Health District, and of course reporting to the board and keeping them in the loop as things start to turn around. But we appreciate the opportunity to get to know you guys and help here in the community and with the environmental issues that we're facing here. So that's all I have and we can talk more later with questions. Thank you.
Go ahead and describe your role.
Can you hear me? My name is Bill Manning. I've worked with Versander Engineering Corporation. We're the district engineer for the district. Versander Engineering's been in business since 1977. I've got over 35 years of experience in various aspects of water, wastewater, including construction, operations, and now engineering. Just wanted to touch base on a few topics. As engineer, we're involved with the design of improvements. We also assist as needed with the operator and the board on engineering as well as operational issues. We look at it as it's a team effort with the engineer and the operator. We try to work very closely with the operator to address any issues they have and to provide engineering support as needed. On the other main thing we do is we look at capital improvements. Right now we're working on a new screen and flow splitting. One thing we identified as an issue with the plant is the current screen, the way the flow came in and went out. It wasn't splitting evenly between the two basins. So with the addition of the temporary screens that we have, we're not only helping remove the material coming in, but also splitting the flow since we got the two screens. We're working on a permanent installation, which will be some bigger screens. What's in right now on temporary or rentals. And with the new screens, there'll be a full-blown flow splitter to evenly split the flow, not only the raw, but also the return sludge. We've got that probably about 90% completed. We're hoping to see construction start around September. Unfortunately, these projects don't move real quick. Once we have design finished, we have to submit to TCEQ, get approval. Then there's a bidding process, contract process, and it's a middle process. So that's what we're looking at on there. Also, we're looking at rehab of both clarifiers. It's a project we inherited that we're wrapping up our review on, updating the front-end documents for bidding. We're hoping to have that ready shortly for the board's consideration. One of the things we're trying to identify as a priority on those two projects, how we're going to bid them out, since one's a bond project and the other may or may not be. So we've got to work out the details and the finances. The other thing we're looking at, just things we've identified as issues. Part of it Nathan touched on. It appears we're getting some saltwater intrusion into the system. That's affecting the plant biologically. The initial testing indicates it's coming in. We've eliminated 2 of the lift stations that come directly to the plant. It's coming in from the 3rd. Now we're trying to isolate which area, that service area, it's coming from. The continuation of that is once we get it pinned down a little bit more, we'll probably be doing some smoke testing, inspection of those lines, get them repaired and sealed. Most likely be something in the nature of cured in place piping, which will basically be a pipe inside of a pipe. That'll seals over the cracks, and if you have separated joints or bad service connections, those get addressed. So, and then the other thing was, even with the effluent line, we're still seeing indications we may have a partial blockage of that line. We're trying to figure out the best way to inspect that line, since there's one manhole on it and the rest are just cleanouts. So we're addressing that as well. And I'll leave the list for any questions afterwards.
Yeah. Do you want me to review timeline or anything like that? As to anything? Once again, I apologize for being tardy. And just to introduce myself, my name is Michael Bacon. I'm the attorney for the district. Even better? Oh, now I can hear it. My name is Michael Bacon. I'm the attorney for the district. The firm I work with has represented this district for many years. I've been doing this for a long time as well. Don't judge me by my short haircut. But regardless, the consultants you've just talked to are newer here, and they've been brought in to address problems that have been seen by this current board. The board is newer. They've been brought in to replace former board members, both by election and by appointment. And board members on a water district are not professional politicians. They generally make a small per diem for their service once a month. And it's people who live here, pay the same taxes, pay the same water bills, and care about their district. And that's really the only good reason to be a board member. So with that said, I will briefly review the recent time period back to the May meeting, which is fresh on my mind, believe me, because I feel like things I said, I hate the way it happened. We're only as good as the information we know and the people we trust. And all I can report to you now is that I told members of the community exactly what Bill and I agreed was our best estimate at the time for what was coming out of the effluent pipe. Also, to my knowledge, and if you read the Galveston Daily News after that May meeting and about a week later, when residents got the TCEQ report before the district did, that's when we found out there were pending violations. Violations happen. They are addressed by district operators and engineers, and that's not unusual. But I would be remiss if anybody thought I denied anything that I knew to actually be happening. It's okay to have violations because they will be addressed and you will fix them. That's what the process is here. Everybody here on the board who said there wasn't was unaware of that. To my knowledge, that is the absolute truth. The timeline, after about a week and a half ago, residents reported receiving a TCEQ report, a preliminary report. It was posted online. We were unaware of it. We asked Bill Manning to request that report from the TCEQ directly. He was emailed a copy of that report on Thursday evening. I was immediately contacted and sent that report and copied on it from Bill Manning. And myself, Richard, Eric, and Bill had a meeting by telephone on Friday morning, at which point we engaged a temporary operating consultant company that happens to be Nathan's company over here. The board was already in the process of gathering information on operating companies, usually a 3 to 6 month process to hire an outside operating company. That had begun after the May meeting. Well, this pushed the timeline. The response was immediate as far as I'm concerned. Nathan's staff was on site the next morning. The reason it was Nathan's company and not the other company that we eventually interviewed on Wednesday, following Wednesday, was because Bill happened to know Nathan from another district. Otherwise, it would have been a coin flip. Wednesday was the first available meeting date we could schedule at that time. Galveston allows 72 hours business days. So that allowed us to schedule a meeting on Wednesday, and we weren't going to do it at 2 in the afternoon and make it look like we weren't doing it at the regular time. So we did it at 6. And that was the first available meeting date to ratify all actions that have been taken, bringing out third-party operating company, to give instruction. By the way, as far as I know, none of those recommendations were taken. 2, we interviewed 2 operating companies at that time, and one of them was hired. Ended up being Tops. I thought both companies did a great job, and it could have been either one. The next day, the operating staff of this district was informed that they would no longer be making management decisions at the plant, and they were given an opportunity to go to a consulting basis temporarily or anything like that, and they chose not to. One of those staff members will be recommended to work or interview for work with Tops. Ben. That was the first day that Tops had the authority to make any decisions at that plant. That's the recent timeline. Yes, there were reports earlier. Yes, violations happened, but we were not aware of any that I know of. And that's the case as it stands. This is the current operating and engineering staff of this district. Bill Manning's been on how long now?
Since January.
Yeah, since January. Bill's been here, and now Nathan, representing Tops, will be the ongoing permanent engineer. I'm going to work with Newman Sharp on the contract for the operating company. Eric Mueller and I are going to work on permanent communication upgrades, which I've been requested to do. My role here is only to advise the board about what they are allowed to do. I have a personal investment in this district because I was asked to give my personal opinion on some stuff, and that's why I've given more than just this little statement of saying who I am. And so I guess I'll leave it at that, unless anybody has any other management or operations things to say. I would, anything else?
Explain the difference between the consultant, the operator, and the engineer, just the role.
Okay. Richard has asked that I describe the difference between your operator and engineer. Operating staff is on site. They are running plants, doing repairs on lines, doing taps. They make daily visits to all of your lift stations and plants and make sure screens are cleaned. And I am doing a disservice to a description of your job because they also do daily testing. The TCEQ is a backstop. Testing is done here. Okay, it's great if you don't get any TCEQ violations, but we should catch them here. And as far as I'm concerned, you got a company that will do that now. Bill Manning is an engineering company with operating experience. He's got an operating license, if not more than one. So we like to keep any field of consultants not have a conflict of interest and have one consultant doing both things. It's just advisable to have a difference of opinion and separate those roles. That's my recommendation to the district. They seem to have taken it so far. Sorry, Bill.
That's all right.
That
I
means
agree.
Bill can communicate greatly with the operator. The engineer is the design guy, overall planning what needs maintenance, 5-year plans, 10-year plans, submitting what needs doing to the state for bond issues, grants if you can get them, and an overall planning of the district. Both of these guys are professional consultants. These are not guys you send out to get you send out an RFP or a proposal, take the lowest bidder. These are professional procurement consultants. And is that a decent description of what you do?
Yeah.
Anyway, they have my compliments. I will again, as I mentioned at the top of the meeting, and unless there are any, I would ask for no official statements for the board members right now. But I would remind you guys of the public comment rules. I think we're about to go into public comment. Okay, I was asked to explain, or asked Nathan to explain who does the testing. Can you go over that?
Sure. So part of good practice is having independent laboratories. For the same reason, you don't mix roles. You want an independent laboratory that's pulling the samples, doing the testing of the water, and reporting that back. We take what they find and their expertise and make changes accordingly. And then, like Michael said, it's a self-reporting mode that you're reporting results to the state as well. So there's a number of ways to do that on the drinking water side and the wastewater side. There's a plethora of requirements on both. Yes. As far as testing requirements, frequencies, contaminants you're looking for, ongoing management and monitoring of the drinking water system and the wastewater system, like what's returning to the environment.
Yeah.
That answer your
Fair
question?
enough. I want to make one more comment based on discussions I've had with board members in the last week, since we did get those testing results, and what I've asked Bill Manning to also review along with the county health department. And I've received comments from, remind me your boss's name. It starts with the G. I apologize. Yes, sir. The commissioner,
CEO?
yeah.
Oh, the county commissioner.
Yes, sir.
Joe Giusti.
Yes. So we've received a message from him that as far as these results were concerned, should not be an effect on wildlife. We received a message from the Eastex testing company sent directly to our engineer that they did not want any confusion about testing results. And I've immediately asked Bill Manning to give an opinion about any additional notices beyond what TCEQ will require. They have not required anything yet. Just real world. What do these results mean? I'll tell you that TCEQ will send notice requirements the day they test something, and if there's a certain type of violation, that happens. I've represented districts where that comes out. That does not diminish the severity of these testing results, but we're trying to figure out what we can do in addition to TCEQ notices that may be required. And so right now, we don't have anything written up specifically, but I've asked every professional that I can get my hands on about what these results mean. And so we will be discussing that and putting out notices as they are needed. That doesn't mean they aren't just for information sharing, but it is a signal as to the severity of the violations right now. So take that as you will. I hope everything I said was accurate from every person up here. If I said anything incorrect, please correct me.
I'm not sure if it was Wednesday or Thursday. I got that email to you.
I got it on Thursday evening, so that's okay.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay.
We had Friday morning was the morning that we
Right.
got the everybody on the horn together,
Mhm.
and we had tops on site later that morning at 11:30, if I believe. We had a conference call at 9:30, on site 11:30.
Yeah, that week was a blur, so I just.
No joke. And I hinted at it before, but I took it was very personally troubling to me, I know, as with other members of the board, to say anything that was remotely perceived as untrue, because that's not the case. And I know everybody will have their own perception of that, and I can't help it. Guys?
As we were coming, there was a alarm going off. Have Nathan explain how alarm went off? Was it fixed?
He said as they're arriving to the meeting, there was an alarm going off at the plant,
Oh, yeah.
and he asked Nathan to explain what that alarm was going off the plant as people were arriving?
Sure. There was a little bit of rain that came through. I don't know if you guys, we measured about 5 inches in about 2 hours, but it was more than that. It did knock out a power, a couple of legs of power on the poles right outside the plant, and we had to run it on a generator for a time there. Some of that, I think, well, specifically the alarms you were probably hearing was when it was running on a generator. It kicked back over to the normal power right before we walked over to this building. So
Also high level.
yes, and some high level flows. So again, back to the inflow and infiltration that we will be looking at as well. There was a lot of additional storm water coming through the plant. Those alarms was related to that as well.
That said, and we could talk a lot about what has been discussed amongst the consultants up here in the last week and a half, about especially with a new operating company coming in. But if there are no further discussion or questions from the board and consultants, then I would offer for you to open it up to public comment, and again, following the rules as stated.
Thank you very much again, and we'll be opening up to public comments. Sharon is the official timekeeper. She has a special machine that'll do a buzzer for 3 minutes. We have the reason you signed in is I'll call your name, and I'll just call you in random order.
Wait,
What's it?
order signed in?
Yeah, no, just random order. If anyone saw me mark all 3 names, don't worry about it. There were 3 names for Tops and for Sanders, so that they won't be asking questions. So we have 25 people who want to ask questions. We want to try to get every 25 in. 25 times 3 is an hour and a half. If it gets too long, we will have to take a break. So if I will, the first question will come from the newly elected mayor of Boa Vista, Mr. Worthy.
I'll pass.
You pass. Okay.
No, I signed up at the bottom for a reason. If you make me go, if you're not gonna let me go, I'll go now.
Okay, I'll come back to you later.
Thank you.
Okay. How about Andrea Cabello? You pass. Okay. How about Douglas Miller? All right, Mr. Miller? When you do come, you can keep on, when you do come, speak close to the mic so everyone can hear your question.
All right, so I really signed up not knowing it was for I signed up not knowing it was for questions, but I wrote down several questions going through this, and I'm new to the community, so I'm kind of wanting to know some scenarios. So, I don't even know where to start on some of these questions.
Speak louder.
All right, so I don't even know where to start on some of these questions. So, the stormwater is causing a lot of the issue as it comes in. Tide comes up, and we have an infiltration into the facility that's causing.
Let me say it's 3 minutes. And
I know. There's, I mean, I don't want to come up here and gripe at you guys, but I got like tons of questions, so I'm not complaining. I really kind of want to know where the issues are. We have a blockage somewhere, and you guys don't know the details on the blockage. We've had screens put in. You have rentals coming. What's the time frame for that? I mean, there's kind of like a lot of plans you guys are working, but I didn't hear any details. That's all.
On the I&I, just like Nathan mentioned, we got high-level alarm.
inflow and infiltration. I.
Thank you, sorry. Inflow and infiltration, and it's just that. You have some infiltration, which seeps in through cracks, and they can be small cracks, big cracks. And then you have inflow. Probably one of the most common areas of inflow is people that have their clean-out caps off, and water ponds in the yard, and it flows in that way. Okay.
So how much repair do we need? I mean, we're talking massive amounts of repair to get us to where we need to be, or what?
If you're done and you would allow me to kind of respond to you and allow me to not take up anybody else's time, So let me describe a total comprehensive plan for repairs that the district needs. The engineer will prepare that. It's called a capital improvement plan or 5-year plan. There are different designs for this. I&I, inflow and infiltration, that's something for sewer lines that is flowing extra flow to the plant. There's lift station problems that need to be fixed. There's the way the plant is running right now and getting a fine screen from temporary to permanent being put in. There are a lot of pending projects that actually, some of those have already been, construction has been started as part of bond funds. There's still remaining bond funds for some clarifier work. This is just a system like this. It's a 30-year-old system. There's never nothing being repaired. There's always a leak here, a leak there.